And welcome to another Wednesday and another webinar. I'm Kelly Bearden, Director of the CSU Bakersfield SBDC, and I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. Today we're live from the Mid-State Development Building in downtown Bakersfield, California. We're fresh off of celebrating National Small Business Week here and actually combining our local webinar Wednesday series with our Central California Regional Virtual Brown Bag for 2 digital marketing webinars during the month of May. Something we're very excited about. So on May 31st, you will want to join us for a webinar on Facebook ads. And that will be presented by our digital marketing guru, Christy Osborne. And that webinar will be presented and produced in Mammoth Lakes, California. And I know what you're thinking, wow, that must be their first webinar produced in Mammoth Lakes, California. And it's actually going to be our 3rd. So that's May 31st. So on with today's presentation. The SBDC program. Many of you know about the nationwide SBDC program. There are approximately 1,100 centers across the country and nearly 40 in California, with 5 centers within the UC Merced Central California Regional Network. There is your Central California Regional Network that includes the Central Coast of California, the San Joaquin Valley, the Sierra Nevadas, as far as the Central Sierra Nevada, and then also the Eastern Sierras, all the way from the coast to the Nevada border, up to the tip top of Mono County, down to the bottom of Kern County. You'll get a little bit of a bias from us today because we are located in this region, which includes Kern, Inyo, and Mono County. And yes, that is a large geographic region. And the webinars are great to have. We're having people from Inyo and Mono County on today's webinar. So I could tell you what we do. I think a lot of you know what we do, but I think what I'm going to do is just show you a little video and let them tell you what we do.
The California Small Business Development Centers are the state's #1 resource for current business owners and aspiring entrepreneurs. Our 43 SBDC centers throughout the state offer no-cost expert one-to-one business consulting, training, and online courses in a variety of areas like startup assistance, debt and equity funding, attracting and retaining customers, international trade, and product commercialization. Our consultants are current and former small business owners, ready to assist you with even your most complex business needs. So, if you are looking for a loan or equity capital for your new tech venture, want to build a new website, need help starting or expanding your restaurant, or would like to sell your products internationally, make the California SBDCs your first step. To get started, simply visit us online to find the location closest to you at californiasbdc.org. The California Small Business Development Center is ready to help your business start, grow, and succeed.
Okay, great. Another thing that we're really doing at the SBDC this time of year and now is mandatory e-filing and e-pay has come for all employers that have 10 or more employees. And so to assist you with that, please contact any of your SBDCs. It is effective January 1 of 2018 for all employers, so even if you only have 1 employee. So if you're not e-filing and not e-paying, please visit either the EDD website or contact your local SBDC. So today's webinar, you'll notice you have a dashboard off to the right side. So please use that if you have any questions or if you'd like to chat. If you have anything that's from a production side where you're having a problem, maybe we could troubleshoot that as we go. But generally, it's there for questions, and we'll answer the questions at the end of the webinar. So please be thinking of your questions, and we'll have time at the end. To open your question box, just point your cursor on the arrow and then click it, and it'll open up that question box or that chat box. All of our attendees today are muted, so if you have a question or want to communicate, that's the way to do it. At the conclusion of our webinar, a survey will appear magically, and give you the opportunity to give us some feedback, not only on today's presentation, but some other events or other topics you'd like to see in the future. So please, we encourage you to use the survey feature. And if there's handouts, please mention that. If you'd like a copy of today's handouts, we can send those to you via email if you mention that in the survey. Okay. Well, we have a webinar coming up, as I mentioned, later this month. There's a little information about that. It's going to be only on Facebook ads. Today we're talking a little bit about Facebook ads, but it's going to be all Facebook ads, all 55 minutes on the 31st. So today, before I introduce our guest presenters today, let me first launch a couple of polls to kind of gauge how everybody is out there today. So our first poll question is going to be, how would you rate your familiarity with traditional media? So please select one of the following. Is it fantastic, good, okay, or okie dokie, not so good, or So please respond with the poll. We'll give you another few seconds. Right now, most people are clicking in on the okay and good range. We've got a few of you fantastics out there, a few not so good, but everybody knows a little bit. So we have to give you another second or two, and we're going to close the poll. And the poll is now closed, and let's share the results. And so what we find is half of our audience out there is okay with traditional media. So that's something to know, and then the other 36 is pretty good. So we have a good feeling of traditional media. And so now the next poll question that I'm going to ask is going to be, how would you rate your familiarity with social media? Select one of the following, please. I'm a social media pro. I'm better than just okay. I'm okay. I could be better. And what's social what? Media? So clicking along, we're going to give you another few minutes, or excuse me, a few seconds to complete that. And right now, most people could be a little better. And so hopefully after today, you are a little better. And we're going to close the poll. I'm going to share the results with everybody. And as you see, the winner could be a little better. And so between that and okay, it's nearly 70% of our audience today. I'm better than okay. I know what you're doing. You're here to grab that 1 or 2, 3 tips that make you even better. So that's great. So anyway, thanks for participating in our polls. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce our presenters. And our presenters today, well, you can see on our screen what the presenters have as far as their bios listed. So I'm going to give you a little bit more information. You see Marina and what she has done. She's been a valued member of our SBDC team since 2010. She's assisted dozens of clients in meeting their marketing goals. And as you can tell, she's operated her own full-service marketing and ad agency for nearly 2.5 decades. And yes, she is younger than me. So Claudia Belda is one of our graduating students at California State University, Bakersfield. She was recently recognized as the Outstanding Student in Marketing for the 2017 graduating class. She's been with our SBDC for some time now, and as our marketing specialist and also a marketing associate consultant assisting clients with meeting and maximizing their social marketing needs. Ladies, thank you for being here today and welcome.
Thank you for that fantastic introduction.
To say fantastic.
Fantastic.
Thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Marina.
I'm Claudia.
Time to sit back and relax and take a deep breath. We're going to have some fun here. And our goal really today is that you'll be able to take away a couple of tips that you can use and be well worth your time. So let's just dive right in with the basics, shall we? And Claudia and I, when we sit down with clients, it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of your knowledge of marketing, whether it's traditional or social, you've got to figure out who you're marketing to. Who are your target markets? What do they look like? A lot of times we split them up in terms of the demographics, right? Age, gender, ethnicity, geography, and you have to figure out what their needs are. Even language. I mean, particularly in the southern San Joaquin Valley, we have a lot of Spanish speaking. And then you want to think in terms of the best way to reach those target markets. So, look at the pictures here. For example, the two women on the lower left. I'm going to guess that she's probably like me, a sandwich generation where we're baby boomers and we've got kids at home and elderly parents we're taking care of. So how's the best way to reach me for something like if I'm going to, let's say that her mom there, that's her mom and she needs care, certain kind of care in a facility or whatever, you might use a newspaper because contrary to what a lot of people think, newspaper is not dead. In Kern County here, the Bakersfield, California, I'm going to estimate that it's probably 40 plus years old who are the market for that. And so I might use the Californian to put an ad in for that. But Claudia, what about trying to reach Gen X or the millennials?
For millennials, I mean, I can say for myself, a really popular social media platform is Snapchat. So most millennials, they're on Snapchat. I have a lot of friends that just go on Snapchat all the time. They're probably on Snapchat right now. But it's a platform that we're using, so I think that if you're a clothing line like Urban Outfitters who targets millennials, that would be your best platform to use. It's appropriate. But if you're going to sell a product like for my mom and dad, you're not going to find them on Snapchat, so you wouldn't use that. There's Twitter. Twitter is a really popular, platform, but it doesn't mean that you need to use it or your company needs to use it. Our president's using it, but that doesn't mean you need to use it in particular for your business. Going back to what she said about defining your target market and their needs, there's 4 different bases that you really want to cover. So she said demographics. Demographics usually includes, the personal characteristics, your age, your gender. There's psychographics, which is, the lifestyle of your customer, their values, their attitudes, their beliefs. Then there's the geographics, which is the geographic region. So today we're covering Central California. And then there's also the behavioral aspects. So that just includes their brand loyalty, their usage rates, just basically basing it on the behavior of your customer.
And so, taking all of that into mind, what we're really talking about here is you're going to sit down, get your yellow pad out and a couple of pens, and you need to do some planning. You're going to take all of that in there, thinking of who your clients are, your customers are, and there's more than one target market a lot of the time with the people that we deal with. So, you're going to want to have segment this out for each of those target markets. So we're going to give you examples as we go along here. Then you want to create goals that go along with that. And then, of course, you've got to work on your message and refine it. It's not just a bim, bam, all of a sudden I've got it and I'm going to go with that. You want to refine it and then create a plan for it. So we're going to go ahead and compare. We can go to the next slide here. Okay. So, oops. Here we go. On traditional, we have, face-to-face. We're not going to read all of these off, but on face-to-face, for example, that's where perhaps you might go to, a Chamber of Commerce function and see people and shake hands and talk and so forth. Now, a lot of times, that's a physical thing, right? But on Facebook, that's like a Chamber of Commerce gathering digitally, right, in the ether.
Right.
Okay, so then publications, that includes newspapers, magazines, etc. We've got our more traditional stuff. Now, one of the things that people are probably going, Yellow Pages, come on, nobody uses Yellow Pages. Some of you may even be saying, what are Yellow Pages and what's a phone book? But you might be surprised to learn that still the #1 category are plumbers. And then following that are attorneys. They're still in that. Doesn't mean, now everybody really needs, I think we probably all recognize this, a web presence. Mm-hmm. And some of our clients have a real simple, 1 or 2 page website. So that's one of the things that you really have to have in your toolbox. let's see, billboards, one of my favorite things with that. I get hit up a lot of the time. That's a traditional, what I consider traditional marketing. It's a support mechanism. You don't, I get attorneys and doctors are the worst about wanting to get their face up there on the billboard. And no, it's really a support mechanism, and they're quite pricey actually too. Direct mail is, believe it or not, is enjoying somewhat of a little bit of a resurgence, mainly because there's so much out there on the internet. We're bombarded with all the messages, right? That, and especially with millennials, I've done some reading with that, where, you know, a handwritten note, you can't, it's special, considering, you know, a lot of us don't even get all that much mail, or all you get is just sales ads and things in there, so it'll stand out. And then the promotional items. We had one client we met with last week who had a thumb drive, right?
It was really cool because she had her logo, it's a little simple, sleek looking thumb drive, and she has her logo just printed on there. And what she did was she has it preset with a PowerPoint presentation that gives information about her company. So I think that's a really brilliant idea to just have that, and they can just learn about our company that way.
Yeah, and in fact for her, she has sort of a niche market where all she needs is a fairly simple website. Yeah. She's got her swag, or that stands for stuff we all get, you know, her thumb drive that she takes, and then she incorporates that with her face-to-face meetings when she goes out to see clients, right? And so that's basically what her mix is. She's going to dabble a little bit on Facebook. We're just now starting with her on some of that, but you know, that's what she's going to be doing. What it really kind of comes down to between both the traditional and then the digital is their communication tools, right?
Right.
All right, so common threads. One of the things that we want to make sure that everybody has, and I've seen this a lot of the time, is that you want to have continuity of message that crosses all platforms. So, and what that means is what your message is, the wording that you use, how it looks, the branding, your logo, the colors. You want it to carry through everything. Let's say, you know, you're doing newspaper, website, TV, Facebook, and you print something out, you know, that you're going to hand out to people, right? It's got to have the kind of, it has to have the branding so that people recognize you. I know you had some stuff.
Yeah, so recently I watched this videos on one of my marketing classes, and I discovered like this really interesting statistic, and it was that we are exposed to over 3,500 brand messages every single day. So when you come to think of it, like from the moment you wake up, you know, you have your Apple phone that wakes you up, you brush your teeth, Oral-B, you know, all these different brands that come at you. So in this world where we're exposed to this plethora of branding, you really need to find how you can stand out, and that starts with your brand identification. So it's kind of how you are perceived. It's this continued message that's being projected onto your audience. So you want to make sure that it's always consistent. So consistency is really key to this. And this goes back to that point of creating that continuity of message. If you have a website that projects a certain type of message with a specific color scheme, but you have a Facebook page that's a completely different message and a completely different color scheme, there's no unity there. There's no sort of kind of like semblance of this is how we're representing ourselves. So how is your audience going to be able to identify with a brand that's all over the place, you know? This brings us to this slide right here, which is discovering what the whole hex code means. So I don't know if many of you are familiar with that. That might be a term that a lot of you have heard before, but you don't really know what that means. But that's basically just kind of being very precise with the colors that you use. So every company has certain colors that they use. We can see here LinkedIn, they use that black, white, and blue, and that's their colors, that's their brand colors. And Facebook does the same thing. They have their own blue and their own white, but you can tell that this is the LinkedIn blue, and Facebook has their own particular blue as well. So CocaCola, I don't know if any of you are fans of Coca-Cola or you're Pepsi fans, but I'm personally a Coca-Cola fan, and they always have that red and that white color, and they've just changed it up. They've had red, white, gray, and black, but they've always stuck to this type of color. So you want to make sure that when you're using your colors, you're getting it precise. So that's what the hex code is. It's a hashtag, and it has some letters and numbers to identify the particular color. And then for fonts, also when you're creating your marketing materials, you want to limit your fonts to about 3 because you don't want it to be so confusing, and you want to just maybe have one font to use for headings, and then another for like your body or your paragraphs or your content that you're going to be writing. and then use another one for just kind of embellishing or emphasizing things. I actually, when I was driving to work today, there was this billboard on the side of the road, and it had a printed wording using a font, but it was in yellow font, and the background was kind of like a white. So it was really hard to read that.
Yeah.
So I would have suggested maybe a different kind of color on there so you can read it better. So it just makes sure that it's, if you're using it on a billboard or if you're using it on a phone, just make sure it's always readable.
It kind of leads into our next slide, which is doing research.
Mm-hmm.
Look around you. A lot of times we'll have clients where they haven't even put their website together, so I'll tell them, go out onto the internet and find 5 websites that you like and 5 that you don't like, and print them out, print some of the pages out so that you can look at them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be within your product or service area. The other thing that you can do when you're doing research is you can look at what your competition's doing.
Right.
So for example, what are they doing well and where are their weaknesses? And then potentially then you could take one of their weaknesses and turn it into a positive for you. But one of the things you just talked about, driving around, it's research by driving around. I mean, we've done that.
Mm-hmm.
You can signage, the billboards and some of that stuff. There's all kinds of ways that you can research to find the marketing messages and what you like and don't like. You also want to think in terms of how you can engage your target market. That's one of the things you're going to be hearing a lot about from us. In fact, Kelly tried to, he put out the polls when we first started, right, to get the audience who's listening engaged. So that's one of the really key things going forward.
All right, and we're going to go on to our next slide here. So just like Marina was saying, you want to research other people, your competition. So on Facebook, what they do is they have this thing where it says people who also like your page also like these other pages. So you can see kind of the similar types of resources that they're using. They're using Facebook, they're using Twitter. Who to follow, they suggested here for our SBDC page, they suggested other SBDCs to follow. So you can just kind of see what they're doing and see how you can either adapt that to your business or just make changes accordingly.
Okay, so let's talk about engagement of your target market. This is a local credit union, Current Schools Federal Credit Union. And one of the things, remember we talked at the front end here how you could have a variety of target markets. Current schools, I mean, if you want to talk about it, they're a really broad one would be basically 0 to 95. But you're not going to market to anybody that way. So they've segmented it all out. They have, here we go. They have a Rocky Raccoon account. So for little kids, I mean, my kids signed up with that when they were little. Right, so they get them there. So that's one segment. Then they have teenagers, where they'll work in branches that they have. So they engage them with that. Okay. Then different products that they sell. They have it segmented out by age and by what their circumstances are in their life. Because as you're going through your life, right, you need different things, and so that's how they handle all of their marketing. But yeah, to get them started early on.
Right, and we're going to talk about content in a little bit, but that's a great picture to showcase kind of.
Yeah, that's right. It kind of underlines that, right, where we're talking about trying to reach your target market. Well, as a mom, and this was further down, I had the Rocky Raccoon account and some other stuff, right? So I would identify by looking at that, as opposed to if you had, something else in there that didn't have kids, it would be incongruous, right? It wouldn't really fit with a Rocky Raccoon account.
Right.
Yeah. So our next slide here, where it has client engagement, we were talking about, is from Houchin Community Blood Bank. It's our local blood bank here in Kern County. And I don't know how many of you out there donate blood, but here they give T-shirts a lot of the time when you donate blood. I'm proud to say I have several T-shirts. And so one of the things that they came up with that's on their website is, it's called Where in the World. And so what you do is, you take I've packed mine before, you take your T-shirt, and wherever you are, then you take a photograph and you send it back with a little bit of text as to what you're doing and where you are. And it's just a form of client engagement, and then that way Corolla over there will post it either on their website or on Facebook, And it's just a way to engage people, and it's another form of marketing. And it's fun too, right? I mean, we talked about particularly Facebook being social. It's something that's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. They should actually use a hashtag. That'd be really cool too. And I'm going to talk about that in a bit, but let's take a look at Coca-Cola again, because I love Coca-Cola.
You and your soda,
I love Coca-Cola.
How many Pepsi fans are out there?
So what they do, if you've seen it before, they have these names printed on the labels of their Coke they sell at the store. And so this gives, the audience engagement by, purchasing. Maybe they have their friend's name on it and they share a Coke with their friend. They can hashtag that picture of them kind of with their friend or whatever they're doing, whatever activity they're doing, and they can share that on social media. And when you look that up, that picture is going to pop up. So it's kind of giving them more engagement, bringing them together as a community kind of, and the Coca-Cola community, and giving them a chance to just have fun and share creative pictures, and they can repost those pictures. So I mentioned hashtag again. And a hashtag is basically this way to search for your picture. So you create a phrase or use a word, and if you look that up using that hashtag symbol before that word or phrase, you're gonna see a bunch of these different pictures that have to do with that hashtag pop up in your search. So I have gone ahead and I searched hashtag share a Coke, and when I did that, it popped up a bunch of these photos. So all these photos that were on there, they have that hashtag in it. And you can see there's multiple ones from different people, and then there's some from my friends, and there's some from other pages. But whoever used that hashtag, all of that would show up there.
Okay, so here's a cautionary tale for you. So you'll notice in the right next to the F on Facebook where she had typed in hashtag share a Coke, right? Okay. So you can look up everything that's posted for that. But I had a client who, they're human resources consultants, and I was working with them on something. I was doing some posting. And so for them, I always put hashtag in the name of their company, right? And then this was for some sexual harassment training. In the state of California, it's mandated that, I think it's companies over 50 have to have some sexual harassment training like every other year or something like that.
Right.
So I got the bright idea that I was going to put the hashtag sexual harassment training or something like that. And so, thank God, the little voice in my head said, you better go out and take a look. And so I was so grateful that I had not posted hashtag sexual harassment, because when I put it in there, what came up, there were plenty of things that came up with it. And some of it had to do with training, but the very first thing was this rather compromising picture that Kelly didn't want me to describe, but it would not have been a photograph that the client would have wanted associated with their very, professional business, let's shall we say. So yeah, I guess the thing with that is that you want to, if you're going to use more than one hashtag, and do not get, don't get carried away with using too many hashtags. You want to check them out before you put them on there. At the bare minimum, I would use the one for your business, right?
Definitely. Yeah, so now I always look up my hashtag before I post anything,
right?
Especially for the SBDC. So I use this hashtag for the SBDC. It's called hashtag Tycoon Tip Tuesday.
Say that 3 times fast.
It's a catchy phrase. I use it for several reasons. It's a catchy phrase, first of all. It uses alliteration, so I like it. And then it's also conveying a message. You know that every Tuesday you're going to expect a tycoon tip from me. I'll be posting. And then it's also unique to us, because if you look up hashtag Tycoon Tip Tuesday like we did with the hashtag Share Coke, you see all these different posts, but all the posts are from me because I'm the one who's using that hashtag. So if you look it up anytime, you'll just always get our link back to us. So that makes it really great because it's searchable, and you can discover everything that we've posted using that.
Okay, so you've sat down, you've done your planning, we've talked about trying how to reach out to people and so forth. So who doesn't love a good story, right? Effective marketing is really depends on having good stories. And if we're lucky, then we started as a small child where our family would sit and read to us, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's the best way to try to teach people through stories. And a lot of times, Claudia and I'll sit here and we get the deer in headlights look from clients where we'll talk about, you have to have content, You have to come up with stories. And for one thing, a lot of times they're overworked. They're trying to do everything, right? And it's just overwhelming. It can be very intimidating. Until we remind them, you do have stories, you just don't realize it. And so here are some sources for you. For example, client testimonials. Depending on whatever your product or service is, there's got to be a reason people found it. You had a need and filled it, and that's why they came to find you. And then some of them, hopefully you have lots of happy clients or customers, so we want to have stuff like that you can garner. Nonprofits. Okay, you may sell paper clips, for example, and saying, well, how sexy can it be to talk about paper clips, right? Who's going to be all happy about that? But your company may be involved with certain nonprofits where you can talk about that. The picture here was involved at the Valley Plaza Mall here in Bakersfield, and it was a fundraiser for Dress for Success Bakersfield, which is a nonprofit. The people there were wearing their T-shirts. I think Chevron was there as well as Walmart. And remember we talked about swag earlier?
Right.
I think they were even giving some of their shirts out. But they had their T-shirts on where it identified who their company was, so it's a feel-good, right? And you could, in fact, I think Elaine, the Dress for Success, took the photograph, posted it on Facebook, and was able to thank Chevron and talked about it. So that gave her content. Events, I mean, that was another event, kind of combined nonprofits and events. And then arts, if you're involved with the arts in any way. But it's really important that you keep it real. Don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. Don't contrive it. Just keep it real. I mean, people will pick up on if it's phony or not. And especially when it comes to digital media, you want to keep it short and sweet. Okay, so we were talking about trying to find stories and content and all of that, right? So Houchin Community Blood Bank, we're going to go back to them. On their website, this is a page that they have. What is your story? They're gathering stories from both people who are blood donors as well as blood recipients. So what they'll be able to do with that is they use a lot of the things we talked about earlier. In fact, I think you had said you had seen one on an email. They can put it in an email. Right. They'll post it on the website. They'll post it on Facebook. Some they've made into commercials and even put in a newspaper. Now, we're going to go next to a young man, Matt Thurber, who, he's a strapping young man who's a hockey player here with our team that we have here locally. And they were in the Midwest for a game. I'm trying to remember how old he is, but I think he's like in his late 20s. So he's the picture of health, right? He had the flu, and he had a particularly virulent bout of the flu, and apparently he tore his esophagus from throwing up so much. But nobody realized that, and so he started bleeding really badly. Got to the hospital. He couldn't figure out why he was bleeding and throwing up blood and whatnot. Turned out that I think he lost like 6 pints of blood. They had to airlift him to another hospital, and so blood donors saved his life, and he was very grateful for it. So we can get this to play. I'm going to click on that there. No. Well, it's on the black box, so you should be able to click on it to where his story will play. Click right there. Click in the black box. No, go back. Right there. Click.
No play.
Okay. Well, I guess we're not going to be able to play it. Anyway, the bottom line was it was a 30-second commercial where he talked about, and you can see him where he's the cutaways in there, he's skiing on the ice. I mean, he, was responsible for a lot of goals that, throughout his season and whatnot. And he just talks about how, what had happened to him and that the doctor had told him that he had lost over half of his blood. He coded out on the flight to the other hospital, and he was talking about how important it is for blood donors that, if it hadn't been for them, he wouldn't be here today. So that's what, and it was a 30-second spot that they used on television, but they also posted it on Facebook and on their website, and I think they even had it in an email like we were talking about what they said. All right, so then our next one talks about relationship building. This is Bob Meadows, who is works for Mission Bank. It's a local bank here in Bakersfield, and they focus a lot on businesses. Now their target market's probably going to be at a minimum, people who are 35 plus, maybe 40 plus, and with a higher income level, and that they have businesses. And so this is an ad that they had done. It's an editorial where one of them talks about Bob on the left side, and then an ad for the bank on the right side. It was in Bakersfield Life magazine. Now, the other thing, though, as far as relationship building goes, is that Bob goes to all the chambers of commerce. There's like 4 different chambers of commerce here. He goes up to people. I mean, I don't think the man knows a stranger. I've even gotten a thank you note from him. No, he didn't pay me to put him on here, but a thank you note for something we were involved in before. It was a nonprofit panel that we worked on. He's involved in all kinds of nonprofits. So it's just a matter of, somebody can get out there, and there's things that you can do that aren't costing money. I mean, the bank paid for the ad, of course, but he got out there. You just can't underestimate relationship building. And we had a client a couple of weeks ago where, in fact, we had 2 clients. They wanted to go out and hire someone to do to sell for them. And we tried explaining to them, you got to believe in yourself. You don't believe in yourself and what you're trying to sell or to market out there, then why is anybody else going to be doing it? So, get comfortable with that if you're not already. Next thing, we're going to talk a little bit about newspaper. I'm going to use, in the lower right-hand side is Bill Ray tile. That's going to be our poster child for what we're going to go into now. Bill Ray tile, a big thing right now is home remodeling. Okay, I just decided to pick this because we've been remodeling. And what Bill Ray tile does is he puts this ad in there. It's not a very large ad. It's probably less than a quarter of a page. It's in there several times a week in the local newspaper. Okay, and what he does by that is he's creating top-of-mind awareness, which means, like, Claudia, so if I ask you, what's the first place you go to if you need a tile? You're going to look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Right? You're not my target market, are you? Right. Because you're how old?
22.
And you live in an apartment, probably, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So I'm a homeowner. I'm a boomer, and I do read the paper. And I had not paid attention to any of his ads all the time, but he was one of several places that we did end up going to. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we're going to use going forward with is on the home renovation yarn that we're talking about. You need to, yeah, there we go. All right. You can use Google Alerts. I like to use Google Alerts for a lot of things. There's 3 things that we're going to advocate that you can use them for, and we're going to show you how to create them. One thing you can, let's just go with Bill Ray tile for example. Bill Ray, I know they're not a client. I don't know who these people are or anything, but I know they got tile. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's say Bill Ray wants to see what people are saying about him on the internet or out there in the ether or anywhere. He can create a Google alert for Bill Ray tile. And then let's say he wants to see what his competitors are doing. All right, so he can create a Google alert for any and all of the competitors, like American Tile, right, and see what's going on with them. Maybe they're having a sale that someone's talking about that's better than them, or climate reviews are coming in where they're not very good, right? He can you can do all kinds of reconnaissance with that kind of stuff. But the one thing that we're going to talk about that you can do is when we talk to clients about creating content, again, they get the deer in the headlights, like, how do I create all this? Mm-hmm. They don't know how to begin with it. So we'll tell them to set up a Google alert. So pick an area that is specific to whatever you are trying to market. And in this case, we were talking about home renovation, right? So you go onto Google, and you're going to type in Google alert. Where are we on our... Okay. Now, the first thing I did was I thought, all right, well, I'll put in do-it-yourself home improvement. Well, I got a bunch of junk on the bottom that I didn't really like. And this thing is, you want to refine that too, just like we were talking with hashtags. You want to refine whatever you're going to do so it's pertinent to what you want to have out there. So do-it-yourself home improvement wasn't working. And so then the next one I did was home remodeling. So, okay. Now with home remodeling, the fun thing that I found on here was, you'll notice that it says under news, workers remodeling Ted Bundy's childhood home report strange occurrences. Now, if I'm on Facebook, I might go ahead and pick that up. I'm going to pick the link up. I'm going to show you in a second. just as something interesting to post on my Facebook. Let's say I'm Bill Ray and I've got a Facebook where I've been talking about all this tile coming in. Well, now I can, intermingle with there. You need a mixture of stuff.
Definitely.
You can't just be selling all the time to people.
Facebook,
right?
it's social media for a reason, because you don't want to just be constantly, it's like if someone just came up to you and just kept selling to you. You don't want that. You want a variety of different kind of.
You're going to leave, right?
Definitely, yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of funny that it had Ted Bundy on it. I guess I have a warped sense of humor. Anyway, so we kept the home remodeling, right? So then we'll go to the next slide. And so I put that in there. Now you can see where it'll show all these things, how often, etc. You can go in there. Then you type in only the best results. A lot of time on what I do, it'll have one where it'll say like everything. And so I'll click on that. It's the very bottom one. And then you got to put in your email. And then you click Create Post. Now, I kept the next slide as a reminder to myself and to you that it's important that you have a Gmail account, because even if you're logged into Gmail all the time like I am, it's still going to tell you to put in your Gmail account to verify that that's who you are and that you're creating it, and then it'll give you a list of accounts. So now, remember we were looking for content, and I was joking about Ted Bundy, but what I did find was an article in a magazine that talked about steps to consider if you would want to do a remodel, right? And so what I did was, if you look up in the cursor there where it's blue, you can see where it has the URL for the magazine, right? So you're going to copy that so you can paste it later. And then on the next slide, then what I've done is I went ahead and pasted the URL up there, and immediately what Facebook did is it populated the Facebook there with a beautiful picture from the from the article, as well as then a kind of a lead into it underneath it, deciding when to renovate, okay? Now, what I did on this was I typed in, and I like to use questions, right? I think, Claudia, you do too. Mm-hmm. Thinking of remodeling your home? Here's some thoughts to consider before beginning, #Bill Ray, all right, or Bill Ray Tile, excuse me. So this way it's content. And what the bottom line is here, this is one way where you can pull all kinds of stuff, where you can post it and share it, where all you got to do is put in 2 or 3 sentences after you've read what's in the article. Mm-hmm. You put that in there as your lead-in on your Facebook, and then you have your link that goes to whatever the article is, mm-hmm. okay? And then you're good to go. Now, one of the things we talk about that's important is that you have something visual. We're going to get into photographs here in a minute, but there's research that shows that Facebook does a lot better for people clicking on stuff if there's something visual, right?
Right. I want to go ahead and add on to what you said earlier, though, sure. about the whole content thing. Some people, like, if I post, say, with the Small Business Development Center, I'm posting on tips on how to start your business. At the Small Business Development Center, it's our job to kind of help people start up their business. And why am I giving, some people are confused on why do I have an article that's showing already kind of how you can start it up. But the whole point is you're kind of giving little hints and giving clues, kind of, and that's getting them interested in your
right.
business. You're not giving your whole business away.
Right. Yeah, that's important, I think. Okay, so on our next slide, here's another example where, okay, current schools federal credit union, right? We talked about them earlier, and where the yellow arrow is, you'll see that. I mean, they could spend time in there, put in, they probably do, but auto loans.
Right.
Other stuff, but this is where, are you planning a wedding this year? See, they led off with the question mark. You need to check out these ways to save money on your venue. Now, the one thing they didn't use is a hashtag, mm-hmm. although they do have 18,000 followers almost, so
that's pretty good.
That's pretty darn good. But see how simple it is? That they use that same strategy that we're talking about using. It's really easy to use, and it's a lifesaver. In fact, we had a client last week where he came in and he was just thrilled because he had no idea how he's going to come up with all this. In fact, he had so many articles that were coming through, he's kind of having to weed through them. I remember that. Okay, so on our next slide, what we're going to do is we're going to show you, it's really important. Remember we talked about how you want to have something visual? We've got clients a lot of the time who doesn't do this. We'll pull up something on Google, right? And we'll just want to grab that picture and use it. But I had a client not too long ago, it was last year, where she was building her website. And I said it was a beautiful picture. I said, whatever you do, make certain that whatever photo you use is copyrighted. Don't just take something off of Google. Yeah. Well, about 6 months later, she gets a hold of me and she had a certified letter from Google, or it was Getty Images, that's what it was, and telling her that to cease and desist, and she had to pay $850 fine for using it, and she had to immediately remove it from her website. So we're going to show you how you can actually use photos off of Google legitimately without a problem, because let's face it, it's convenient, right? All right, so you're going to go on to Google, and again, I'm sticking with the home remodeling thing. We've typed in home remodeling, all right, and then you see where the first yellow arrow is, it says tools. Oh, in fact, I'm sorry, when you go to home remodeling, then click on images, you'll see images in blue, so that pulls up all the photographs, okay? So then over here where tools is, you're going to click on tools, and then the next one, the next slide, there we go, with the down arrow, you'll see usage rights. There are several things there, and you can see all these right now, Dave, it's everything in the kitchen sink, literally. But what we're going to do is we're going to click on labeled for reuse with modification. Now, I want to call your attention to something here. Kind of over to the left in the center there is a picture of a worker. Now, if I was Bill Ray Tallon and I wanted to show something where the guy with the tool belt, I might want to use that real quickly on a Facebook post, right? So now what I'm going to do is, rather than grabbing that, I'm going to click on, use labeled for use with modification. So, which takes us to our next slide. What do you see? He's not there, is he?
He's gone.
Yeah. However, I could use any of these that I want and not have to worry about getting that, cease and desist letter that's certified telling me I owe $850.
Oh gosh.
God, I know.
But I mean, if you wanted to probably include a worker, you could probably specify that again in the search box. Okay, now we're going to go ahead. Now you've got your content. We're going to go ahead and schedule these posts, because I know it's really hard for people to keep up. They're like wondering, how do I put all these posts together? I'm busy on the side. I have my business, but how am I supposed to get a hold of start putting information on there? So I'm just going to show you how to schedule your post through Facebook. And what I basically did was, before this webinar, is I used this photo. It says "Get ready to lunch and learn," and we use that one, and that's our content. And then we have our little description. It's almost time, and then with a link. So if you go ahead and click on publish, and that arrow next to publish, it says schedule, backdate, and save draft. So you see all those options. We're going to be clicking on scheduling for this one. And once you click on schedule, it pops up this box where it says publishing schedule. And so I scheduled this actually yesterday, I think last night sometime, and I wanted it to be at 11:47 a.m. So that's kind of casual. It's not like 11:45. It doesn't look like it was scheduled. So you want to kind of choose a time where it just looks like you're just casually posting something on there, and I put it for today's date. So I hit schedule, and the next thing that pops up is that box clears, and it shows in the bottom, it says one scheduled post, and it tells you exactly for the time that it's going to be scheduled. So you can look forward to that post, and you'll get a notification also from Facebook saying that your post was scheduled and posted at this time. So that's a great way to do that. And again, going back to my hashtag, using Tycoon Tip Tuesday, I can schedule all of those posts before Tuesday. I can schedule them in advance, and they'll just pop up on that day.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things is one of our clients had talked about how, since we taught him how to do this to get the content and everything, he gets us Google alerts every day. He kind of sets aside whatever he wants, and then he picks a Sunday afternoon and takes a couple of hours, because he posts 5 days a week, and he does the scheduling, and then it's done, and it's out of his hair, and he's relaxed. It's a whole lot better. Kelly, you said we're getting ready to do some questions now. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, we have questions.
All right.
So let's go to the questions right here. The first couple of questions were early in the presentation, and it was just on a couple of terms that were announced. One of them was psychographics, and the other one was lead capture. Okay. And I don't know what context they were used in, but could you talk just a little bit about those two terms?
Okay, so I think I was the one who mentioned psychographics. That's basically just referring to the customer's lifestyle, their values, kind of appealing to that area. it's just another one of the 4 bases that you should cover when you're targeting. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, that's pretty good on that. And then as far as lead capture, it's one of those things that's used a lot of the time. We didn't really talk about it because we kind of ran out of time on some of it, but retargeting, I mean, we've all gone, looked up something on a website like, okay, so I was researching something for this, and it was on a veterinary website because they had a cute little video. I was thinking of using TrueCanyon, and then the next thing I know, I'm going out onto Google for something else, and I get a pop-up ad, you know, for TrueCanyon. So that was one. There's many forms of lead capture, but that was one of them I think that's used in a retargeting method.
The next question is, where do I check out your hashtags, on Facebook or is that on Google?
You can
Good
check
question.
them out, yeah. I would search for them on social media. So I think that companies do that too. They search because people are posting it on their social media accounts. So I would go there first if you're a business that's wanting to use a hashtag and use other people's posts. I would do that. Yeah, I think Instagram too is especially like the place to go for pictures, especially for.
I think but I would start on Facebook with the hashtag. Yeah.
Okay, Joe is a one-person shop, and he would like to know, with limited funds, how do you get a business marketing program started?
Well, you contact your Small Business Development Center to start with, because you know, we can help you wherever you live. I mean, a Small Business Development Center can help you put together a plan. Remember, we talked about, Joe, at the beginning, you want to put a plan together. We see clients all the time where they have little or no budget, and we're able to walk them through the planning process, walk them through. We just had a client where they finished putting their own website together. And it's daunting, I know, but we're kind of like a coach for you, too. We help walk you through it and lead you through it. And that's where I would start, Joe.
And our next question is, I would like to know how I can advertise on people's feeds on Facebook. I have seen sponsored, and I wish to do that for my target audience. Any insight on that? And just before I let our experts discuss that, I will remind you that coming up on May 31st is our webinar on Facebook ads, an entire 55 minutes on everything about tips and tricks on getting a positive return on Facebook advertising. A shorter answer in this time frame?
I would have a tune into what Christy's going to say at the end of the month. That's a whole
other topic
on its own. It's probably a lot simpler. Once you learn it, you'll be amazed, I think, at how simple it is. One of the nice things about doing advertising on Facebook is you're able to select your geographic area, your demographics, your age, your gender,
all those
interests.
areas that we discussed, all those 4 different bases, they're all covered there, and you can just specify.
And you don't have to have a ton of money to do it either, too.
Oh, here's a great question. Does a hashtag carry over various social platforms?
Oh, that's a great question.
I mean, it does. It does. If you search on any of the different, you can hashtag share a Coke on Facebook, on Instagram. You can see it on any platform that you use. It's pretty user friendly.
Yeah.
And the follow-up to that, of course, is Snap ads and hashtags.
Snap ads. So Snapchat, if you are on Snapchat, they do a really great thing where you can use filters. I think that's something. I don't know if ads. I see mostly like big companies doing that, but I think that filters are something that you could do if you're holding an event. You can gauge how wide you want to have that filter going to people. It's a geotag is what they call it. But it tells you the place, location. You can put your company name in there, but that's another thing. That's similar to Facebook ads. It's a completely different kind of topic.
Boy, it could be a complete different webinar, too.
Yeah, it could.
I think of Snap ads before today. And our last question is, can a business use their own photos to minimize legal repercussion?
Certainly.
Yeah.
A couple of thoughts on that. One, want to make sure, get good photos. The one that I don't like is where I've seen people use, I'll have someone take their iPhone or whatever, they'll stand out in front of their business and the lighting is terrible, and there's shadows and everything. I don't like that. But certainly, it's nice if you have it where, I don't know what your business is. Do they stand there with their business or their product is, Kelly?
Joe's in the risk management business.
Oh, risk management. Okay. Well, Joe, you may be at an event or something like we were talking
Right,
about.
a mixer.
So a mixer, you could take photographs of that. You can have, maybe your mayor shows up and you want to get a picture of that. We had a client where he went to a mixer. It was his first one ever last week, and the mayor was there, and he had a picture taken of him with her. But certainly, your own photos would be great. Just make sure that there's a good quality to them.
Okay. Well, those bells tell me that it's 1 o'clock and it's time to end this webinar. Thank you, everybody, for attending. For Maureen Busher-Dang and Claudia Belda, I'm Kelly Bearden. Thank you and have a great afternoon. Goodbye now.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.